right, we're gonna get started, guys. Kick off our almost first live meeting of 2020. Just feels like it's been forever. So our plan is to hold these once a month in person, where we're gonna get speakers, and then every other alternating Tuesday, we're gonna have our Zoom meeting, kind of do business meeting. All right, so I'm gonna introduce our speaker. I've been thinking all morning of the most awkward way that I could introduce her, so I'm just gonna leave it at this. So Becky Harward, I'll give you a couple things, and I'm gonna give you sort of a riddle. At least I think it's a riddle that you can figure out. So Becky is awesome. She is the owner of one of the fastest growing home companies in Utah, home building companies called Hive Homes. She has a long history of doing renovations, interior design. She's pretty much Chip and Joanna Gaines combined. I've seen her with a chisel and a hammer breaking out fireplaces. She's the mother of 4 children, grew up in Elk Ridge, Utah. And one of the things she's gonna be speaking to us about is a new nonprofit that she's starting up. And it's to help women who have experienced domestic violence. She's coming up with creative ways to help them find more comfort and peace. I'll let her explain more about that. So here's my riddle. I might totally mess this up. So, Becky once dated my brother, but I had to marry her sister-in-law to get into her family. Okay.
Luke gave me little to no briefing on what I was supposed to speak on today or what this meeting would look like. Bless his little heart. I've never actually been a part of a group like this before, and I've never been to a meeting like this, and so I didn't really know what you would want to hear about from me, right? But I have to say, just being here a few minutes, I'm really impressed at a group of people who take time from their busy lives and to do good things. Just listening to what you guys were just talking about, upcoming events, and I think that's amazing. And kudos to all of you for doing that. And I hope that today I can not make you feel like you wasted 20 minutes of your day, right? And I thought, when Luke asked me, I was like, okay, sure. What should I talk about? And he was like, well, whatever you want. Okay. So I decided what I could talk about is maybe tell you a little bit about my story, because I love hearing about people's stories and how they came to be who they are as an adult. And with school starting, I've thought a lot about my childhood. The other day, I was in the main office at my daughter's school, and this boy walked in. You could tell he was frustrated, and he goes, well, I pooped my pants again. And I was like, yeah, that was me. That was me back when I was a kid. I was pretty hyperactive. Nowadays, I think I had just a smidge of what we now call ADHD. But back then, I think it was called more like, I don't want to hang out with that girl, she's super annoying, So I wasn't really good at anything. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like that. I wasn't slow, but I wasn't fast. I wasn't ugly, but I wasn't pretty. I was just very, very, very average. And sometimes that is the hardest thing to be. I feel like in order for you to understand who I was as a kid, you should see just a picture of me as a kid. See those two big front teeth poking out underneath my afro? I mean, that was just who I was. That's not a bad picture. That's very accurate to who I was. And I think about myself as an 11-year-old girl, and I can remember a time going into my kitchen. Mom was in there making bread, because that's what moms used to do, bless their hearts. And she's making her famous wheat bread. And I remember sitting there feeling sorry for myself. I don't have a lot of friends. Not good at anything. And I'm sitting there watching Mom, and I said, you know what, Mom? You know what I am? And she kind of smiled and she said, what are you? And I said, I'm a boring piece of wheat bread. I'm just dumb, and nobody wants anything to do with me. I'm not even white bread. I'm just wheat bread. And my mom kind of grinned, and she said, well, honey, and she started cutting a fresh slice of bread. And she took that bread and she got some butter and just melted instantly. It was just steamy and hot. And then she got a big slab of peanut butter and just covered that whole thing with peanut butter. And then just cut up a banana and just nice and evenly put banana slices. By that time, my mouth was watering. And she slid it over to me and she said, the best part about wheat bread, Becky, is that you can make it as exciting as you want it to be. And it was at that moment, at 11 years old, that I realized I am kind of average. I am kind of just blah. But I don't have to be. And something switched. A little switch turned on in my little brain. And I didn't know it at the time. It was nothing that I meant to do. But looking back, I noticed that change. And what did I start doing? I started saying yes to everything. Any opportunity I got, anyone who wanted to hang out with me, it didn't matter who they were or what they were doing. Hey, Becky, do you want it? Yes. Yeah, I want to. I'll be there. And I said yes, and I continue to say yes to every opportunity, except for drugs. I say no to drugs, and I say no to MLMs, okay? Those are the two. But other than that, I say yes to almost, like even coming here today. Luke texted me, and I sat there, I was like, what? I don't have anything of purpose to get, and I was like, yes, I'll be there, because that's what I do. But so many things have happened for me since I started saying yes to opportunities. Good things and bad things. I mean, I've eaten duck's feet when I was offered, but I got to ride on the head of an elephant once. I got to pet a tiger. I've gotten food poisoning so many times from saying yes. You know, I've got myself in some dangerous situations. So I'm not saying it's all pleasant to say yes to opportunities. I have failed at so many things. So many times that it was almost good because it didn't really bother me anymore. You know, it was just one more thing that I might not be professional at, right? So that right there is one of the things that I feel like for me has brought me the most success, is that I'm not afraid to say yes and that I take opportunities. When I graduated high school, I had exactly 0 skills. I had been saying yes to all the parties, but no to all the homework, you know that. You know, I hadn't really turned myself into anything other than somebody who's pretty interesting to talk to or fun to be around. But miraculously, I got a job and I started working for a home builder. Actually, I worked for Bill for a few years as a teenager. He remembers, I'm sure, because I never stopped talking. But I got a job for a home builder, and they were kind of a smaller to medium-sized home builder, and I worked there for 9 years. And while I worked there, they grew to be the second largest home builder in all of Utah. So I watched some big growth, and I learned a lot. And I started out, I was just the secretary. And I was okay at that. And a few job openings came up while I was working there, and I wasn't qualified for any of them, but I always went for it, you know, just doing my thing and kind of winging it. I heard somebody say, I'm just winging it. And that's kind of my motto. You know, I was winging it, but I was always learning. Any classes that came up, yeah, I want to go to that. I want to learn that, okay? So here we are, fast forward. I got into interior design at this point. Over the 20 years, I had learned about real estate. I was a real estate agent. I had been in home construction for 9 years. And then I had gotten into interior design and had studied that. And I had a builder come to me, and I had worked on custom home projects with him quite a bit. And he came to me and he said, Becky, I don't want to build custom homes anymore. I want to build starter homes. And I was like, ew. Starter homes are the wheat bread of construction, right? They're not sexy or fun or you know, and I didn't really want to do that because I don't know, it just didn't sound exciting, right? And then I remembered Mom's words, and I said, all right, Jimmy, I'll do it with you, but you have to let me put peanut butter and bananas on the homes. And he was like, okay, sure, you know? But I needed him to let me take something that was boring and make it exciting as I could, right? So we started 4 years ago, and we decided to take a more women-centric approach. I've always had a soft spot for the underdog, you know? And so can I actually tell you guys one more story about that just pops in my mind? Because this is gonna bring me to what the Protea Project, the nonprofit. So if we jump back to when I was in 6th grade, I always found myself kind of being the defender of all the underdogs. And looking back, I know why. It's because I was freaking huge. I was this size in 5th or 6th grade. So I wasn't afraid of the boys, wasn't really afraid of the teachers. I was just big. So I noticed, you know, like if somebody was getting beat up a little bit, I was kind of the one that would stand up for them. Well, there was this one time that we're out on the playground, we're playing kickball, and there was one black student in our school. She was a girl, and she also happened to be an amazing athlete. And when they rolled that ball to her, she kicked it so hard, the pitcher literally almost lost his head. And he was embarrassed, everybody was laughing. And so he naturally decided to call her a string of horrible words, including the N-word. And you know, I went right over there and I got up in his face, feeling so tough, and I pushed him with both hands and I was like, listen, you need to apologize to her. And then the next thing I remember is opening my eyes on the ground. This one wouldn't open that good. All the kids had gone inside, and the only person standing there was that girl. And she helped me up, and she took me in and took me into the bathroom, cleaned me up a little bit. And she helped me to class. And then she, for every single day until the day we graduated high school, had my back. She was right there. I didn't go tell the principal. I didn't go tell my parents, because I didn't have to. I mean, I had literally just got the crap kicked out of me, and I felt like the king. And that's when I realized how good it feels to lift those up that can't do it themselves. I don't want to cry. So from that point, I started looking for people who needed lifted up, right? Especially girls. It seems like girls are mean, and so I always had a soft spot for girls. So as a home builder, I noticed that women were sometimes left out of things. You know, they were kind of talked down to, and I understood. I'm one of the only owners of a home building company in Utah, and so I understand it and I've felt it. And so we decided to create a home building company where women were empowered, kind of a women-centric home building company. We also did a few things to kind of put that peanut butter and bananas on our homes. I designed these 5 small homes that to me are just as charming as you can make a starter home. I put little details in there that I feel like sometimes are missed. I hired a girl that I pay from my salary, and her only job is to make our homeowners feel special. That's her only job. So she spends her time, she sends little surprise gifts to them throughout the building process. She remembers birthdays and if they're having a baby. I worked with a company in North Carolina to create an app where homeowners can design their house. So even though it's a starter home, they get this excitement of being able to customize their house and see their kitchen. And we tried just step by step to create an exciting product and to do just what I was talking about. Our first year, we sold 8 houses. I was pumped. It's like 8 houses? I didn't think anyone was gonna buy a house from us. Our second year, we sold 16. Our third year, we sold 23, and I thought, it can't get better than this. I mean, this is sweet. And in 2020, we are geared up and on track to sell 100 homes. So we've seen some success, and as this success has been growing, I've had this feeling of, you know, what more could I do? You feel like you've been given some things and you've been given opportunities, and you guys are all here doing those things, but to me, I thought, what could I do? I'm really kind of just good at one thing, which is decorating homes. And that, to me, I'm thinking, how could I ever do any good with that in the world? It seems like such a stupid thing to be good at. But then a couple years ago, do you guys remember the fires? Yeah. So the fires, I live in Elk Ridge, and we were all evacuated. And I remember a lot of my friends up there, a lot of the women were very dramatic about leaving their homes, and oh, I can't believe this might be the last time I see my home. And I remember telling my daughters, because I was kind of annoyed by that. And I was telling them, you know, there are women who flee for their lives from their homes with their children, just victims of domestic abuse. Hundreds of women a day are leaving their home for the last time in fear for their lives. And then they go and they show up to a government-owned property that's cold and not home-like at all. And that vision is coming in my mind, and then all of a sudden I think, wait, I could make those places beautiful. I have literally all of the tools to create spaces where these women could come to a place that's healing for them. So they could come to place where their families can feel at home instead of in an institution. And I said, Becky, do you want to, what do you think I said? Yes, right? I'm just, yes! Heck yes! That's what I said. And that was born the Protea Project. One thing I want to talk about is how many of us feel like we don't have much to offer. You know, we can't change the world. And you see other people who are leading huge movements, and you think, well, I could never do that. You know, what do I have to offer? But there's always something that we can offer. But you have to move on those things. You have to think about it. So the protea, the reason that word is kind of, I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it's a flower. It's a flower from New Zealand that represents courage. And it was fitting that our project would be representative of courage, just like those women. So Hive Homes and myself, with all of our contractors and everything we have at our disposal, are going to, in 2021, launch the Protea Project. I'm working with the local shelters to find out what they need. I've been over there and seen kind of what these families are living in, and it's exciting, and I'm excited to move forward on this next chapter. And I just want to tell all of you, thanks for listening to my story. Thanks for laughing at my jokes. You know, there's nothing worse than blank faces. But I really admire what you guys are doing. And I'm happy that I got to come and share my story with you. Thank you, Luke. And I just want to end by asking if anybody is willing to share either an embarrassing story about them as a kid or a story that made you who you are as a kid. And you will get, of course, a loaf of wheat bread. Anyone? This is good. This is Neaters. Exactly. So who's willing to share? Thank you. Come up here so he can hear you in the...
I'm always one to share embarrassing stories about myself, right? So combined with Rotary, many of you know I was a Rotary Youth Exchange student. When I was a junior in high school, I spent my junior year in Denmark. So I arrived in Denmark, and it was a beautiful summer day like this, and my host family picked me up, and they said, we want to show you some of the long-time history of Denmark. So we're going to take you to this Iron Age village, and it was this beautiful, kind of like this is the place Park is to Utah. It was to Denmark, but it was like 2,000 years old rather than 200 years old type time frame. So we went on these dugout canoes, where it was just a big log that they had dug out. We were paddling around, and I did lots of canoeing as a scout, and so I was having fun, and I was getting to know my host family, and I was actually canoeing with my host mother, and the canoe was just barely above water level, being a dugout log. It's not like we had, 6 or 18 inches of gunnel wall, if you will. Anyway, the canoe got a little bit tipsy, got a little bit of water in it, and it instantly sank. Now, the water, the pond was only a few feet deep, so we just stood up and walked out, no big deal. But the bottom of our shorts got wet. But it was a beautiful hot summer day like this, and I thought, no worries. I'll just walk around and let my shorts dry out. Well, my host mother didn't like having wet shorts, so she took them off. Here I am, 16 years old, been raised with my family, and now I'm walking around with this lady that I'm going to live the next 4 months with, and she's in her really tight, really high-cut lace briefs. And that was my host mom that I got to spend the rest of my time with. And that was my expanding my horizons from being an introverted, quiet little kid to being the extroverted, fun person that I am today. How's that?
Mine is when I was in grade school. We were out on the playground and argument ensued about whether Santa Claus was real. And so I began to march around the playground and said, Santa Claus is real. Everybody follow me. And everybody did. So I realized right there that I had the ability to make a difference. And so I've strived to make a difference in people's lives. I'm not any great, important person. I don't do anything really fabulous, but I do know that our mind helps us to make up the difference. And it's up to us to make that difference. And that's what's helped me to become the person I am today.
Out of the many, many embarrassing stories, this is the first one that came to my mind. So I have 3 older brothers. They put me in boxes, they tied me up, they did all kinds of crazy things to me. But one of the memorable ones was at my grandmother's house. They boosted me up to the 10-foot rim. I'm about 5 years old, and I'm holding on to the rim, and it was too far to drop. I didn't have shoes on. And all of a sudden, this group of women comes walking around the corner. My grandma's house was right at the mouth of Payson Canyon, kitty corner from that church that's right there. So this is a big kind of main street for Payson anyway. And this group of women comes around the corner, and my brother runs up and grabs my shorts and pulled them clean off me. And I didn't dare do anything because I was stuck hanging there on the 10-foot rim, just naked as a jaybird. 5.
I love that. Well, thanks you guys for sharing, and I hope that we can all start looking for ways to lift other people around us up and also to take those opportunities. And that is what I have to share with you today. So thanks for having me, everybody.